Good morning, everyone. I am Shane Beckford. Selecting this class, oral communication, my perception of this class was speaking. But after going through the outline of the class, I realized that writing is involved. The first public speaking, which was the impromptu, that was testing the water for me. I felt nervous when I was doing it. Honestly, I went up there for my paper and I did not see it, and I just said something out of the tip of my head. And when I go through looking back at it, I was like, wow, I'm glad I didn't do too much facial expression, because I have this problem where my facial expression is all over the place. The second speech, the informative, wow, I love that speech somewhat. Even though to myself I did well, I could have done better. I found out that my transition in the speech, they weren't effective as possible. And I learned from the impromptu that I should not hold on the decks or lectern. And Miss told us about giving eye contact. And I learned from that and went on to do the informative speech. While I was doing the informative speech, I started looking and staring at the faces, and trust me, they weren't pretty. And I was saying to myself, why Miss tell us to give eye contact when these facial expressions were like, wow. It's like, I was just getting a negative feedback. I was like, why are these people making up their face like that? And when I finished the informative speech and I said any question, I saw so many hands in the air, and I'm like, how am I going to deal with this? But luckily enough, I was well researched, and I have this passion for that topic. So I think I did handle pretty enough all of the questions you guys asked. Now, the persuasive speech was my downfall. I felt so disappointed. Even though I was speaking, I am so disappointed in myself. I felt that I didn't deliver. What I realized my mistake was that I didn't put much research. I think my content need more flesh. I mean, it wasn't all that effective. And I realized that when I look at my paper, I say it was very short. I was trying to beat the time and not to hear Miss say time on me. So I realized that I didn't need to put more flesh into it, more body, to make it more effective. The group work for me was, I just had so much fun. I'm glad that I wasn't in a group where there are pure mascom people. It was people from different career department, and I realized that this chapter 10, where it speaks to cultural influence, group decision making, I see how it applies to that as when we come up with the idea of presenting our group presentation. I realized that Alani, she was like, her background to medtech, she was relating more to her field. So I see where from the text that it says that culture influence decision making, her culture from her department would be labs. And I see how she was fitting most of that into the work. Comparing the informative speech and the persuasive speech, to me, I love the informative speech so much, even though I could do much better, but I prefer it more than the persuasive speech, because the persuasive speech is more technical. You have to have craft to make people believe what you want to do. And it seems that I didn't put so much of that. It was my greatest downfall. I still regret that speech to this very day, but what I've learned from this class is how to be an effective communicator. I know how to stare you guys in the eyes. I know that I should not be at this podium all the while. I should walk around and deliver my speech. And I've realized that I'm the greatest enemy to myself. I'm the one who is holding back me. And another thing that I've learned is that sometimes we see people, thank you.
In starting this course, I had a problem with my speech, knowing that I'm not from Jamaica, and most of the time back home I speak the Bajan slang. When I come in front of you all and I try to speak proper English, it kind of messes with my tongue, so sometimes the words might not be so clear. I had a problem with that, and when in doing my presentations, the time limit that were on them, and then Miss would just shout out time, and I would just got you like, have your heart like, I wonder if I did good, or, you know. As a communicator in this course, oral communication, I have learned an abundance of information pertaining to life at large and different ways of communicating both verbally and non-verbally. In addition, I have also learned and have already applied some of these standards and communication styles to my life in order to improve myself as a social being. In this world we live in, we need to view persons as equal and learn not to stereotype or be prejudiced against persons. Therefore, having individuals from different walks of life, like myself, once perception may interrupt the communication process in any situation, as it is the most important. But before interacting with others, I have learned that first you must improve self. You must first love self and change the peers you socialize with, ridding yourself of negative influence. And lastly, determine what influences you, what makes you a better or worse person. These moral or physical, cognitive, and social improvements that should be improved should be your start to proper interaction through the remainder of our time here at NCO. We have learned that there are two types of communication, verbal and nonverbal. Verbal being your speech, or it can be in the form of music, and nonverbal where we have gestures and symbols and so on. Wood says in his book, Communication in Our Lives, that in nonverbal communication, our messages may come across more honest in this form. And also, body language is very important as a part of our communication style. While gestures and subliminal messages play a steady and ongoing role in conversing with your receiver, even in the case of interviewing techniques and so on, we have become more enlightened towards what to say and what not to say, what to do and what not to do. And I'm hoping that that information was as helpful to you, as it was for me. Nonetheless, as we practice these rules and skills and integrate them in our everyday lives, let's remember that communication and how we communicate makes a big difference in that process of conversing. We now know that we may come from different backgrounds and worlds. Therefore, patience, a sense of understanding, and tolerance should be applicable. Finally, as we leave here and go out into the world of work and responsibility, for some of us, but continue presentations in our other classes for others, let's put these skills into practice as a result of our information shared to us by our patient and considerate teacher, Ms. Simmons. Thank you.